So
on the left-hand bottom, on the bottom.
Left-hand bottom is a mute button.
The screen on the left side at the bottom.
That's it, good.
Okay, so we almost finished the Maimer. The Maimer is Eileh Pikudei, Tafshin Chaf, and you can get it at the link that's posted here. I assume you all have it. We just started Eis Dalet. Okay, so without repeating the whole Maimer, because we'll do that when we finish the Maimer, which will be presently, we'll kind of review the whole thing. We'll just bring us up to speed right now, even though it's really one Nakuda. The whole Maimer is one thing. We're up to actually Eis Hey. We're up to Eis Hey. So the Maimer has explained that we are talking here about two levels of Mishkan. There's Mishkan Stam, unqualified, and Mishkan Ha'edus. Mishkan, of course, is the dwelling place for Hashem, so there's one level of dwelling place, and there's a higher level of dwelling place. Dwelling place, of course, means that's the avodah of making this world clearly, through elevating the sparks, making this world a home for Hashem. So there's one level of achievement, and that's empowered by the avodah embodied by Shlomo HaMelech, as the Maimon explained, which we'll review at the end. And then there's the avodah of Mishkan Ha'edus, which is the tachlis, the ultimate kavanah, and that is empowered and embodied in the avodah of Moishe Rabbeinu. In other words, both of them gather the Jews together in connection with the first Mishkan and the Beis HaMikdash. But however, we see the distinction that Moishe Rabbeinu gathers all the Yidden, and there is no differentiation. He gathers Kol Bnei Yisrael as one, absolutely one. Whereas Shlomo HaMelech gathers them on the outside, the gates of the Beis HaMikdash after he had built it, in that historic moment. But there, the pasuk describes the various divisions, the elders and the heads and the rest of Bnei Yisrael and so on. So the Maim explains that the difference between Mishkan and Mishkan Ha'edus, bearing in mind that Eidos, again, testimony means it's a reference to a level that is fundamentally and essentially removed, right? There's three states. Something is revealed, something is beyond our ken, and something which is beyond. So in the laws of testimony of Eidos, when do you need Eidos? If the facts are revealed before you, of course the court doesn't need it. If the facts will be ascertainable tomorrow, you still don't need it. You still need your testimony. Even one person's testimony, which is not proper Eidos, is admissible. But when do you need Eidos, the concept of witnesses, when the court cannot access information, not directly or even indirectly? Not today or in the symbolic or proverbial tomorrow, also not. That's when you need Eidos. So these are the three levels of divine manifestation. It's divine manifestation that is accessible and discernible in creation itself. And then there's a divine level that is beyond creation, but can be related to by creation itself, in the sense that we are connecting to a level that's beyond creation. So there's a description here, not direct but indirect. It's Sever Kalam, and it's infinite, and there are glimpses of it and hints of it in creation itself. And then there's a very level of essence of Kudim, as he calls it in the Maimer, that is essentially beyond access by creation, even the loftiest levels of emanations in creation. And that's Eidos. And yet that is precisely the Kavanah. Davke, that's the intent, that this level be revealed, as it were, here on this world. That's the Mishkan Eidos, and that's empowered Davke by Moishe Rabbeinu, because he explained Moishe Rabbeinu's neshama is from the first Shemitah, as explained earlier, which we won't repeat again now. As opposed to all of us that are part of the second Shemitah. There are two neshamas that's born in Chassidus, the Chanoich and Moishe Rabbeinu. I'm not talking Toyo, we're talking Chaim. This is not Toyo, but this is the first Shemitah. Even higher than Toyo, and that's Moishe and Chanoich. You said there's a third, but it's not what I saw. Good morning, Mendele.
You saw the Maimer in Torah.
He brings three?
Yeah.
First Shemitah? Okay. I saw a source that says two. All right.
And then afterwards, he brings on Moishe.
Lagabi Shemitah Rishmeina or Toyo?
You know what?
I think you're referring
now
to.
You're making me think. He brings in the same. He brings in the same. Moishe.
Okay. Well, I'll look it up later.
Chanoich.
And
Lemech, right?
And who? whatever. It's just Nagir. Okay, we'll go back to the Nakuda. So Moshe Rabbeinu, rooted in that level, therefore empowers Yidden in his gathering of them and sets in motion the Avodah, wherein we bring about not just the creation of the Mishkan, but the Mishkan Edus. So I said at the end of yesterday's shir, we'll try and explain what this means a little bit in language that we can relate to directly. So there's two levels of Mishkan. I think a simple mashal or manifestation of that would be as follows. The Mishkan or Eidos, we're saying Eidos goes on Stimma the Chalstim, in the hidden of all hidden, Yoshes, Cheshech, Sisroi. The Pasuk in Tehillim, he places his secrecy in darkness. Darkness, what is darkness? Darkness meaning to say a level that's beyond revelation. It's essential. And likewise, Moshe Rabbeinu enters into the Arafah, into the dark cloud, as and Har Sinai, as the Pasuk tells us, which, as we pointed out, is a strange imagery, a dark cloud at a time of such awesome revelation. The answer is that Moshe Rabbeinu enters into this place of Arafel, of darkness, namely a complete union with Atzmos, with the very essence, which is beyond revelation. So what does this mean in terms of the Mishkan and the Mishkan Ha'edos? What does it mean, l'chayra? The first bitter rishon, which is to make a Mishkan, and then bitter sheni is not just a Mishkan, but a Mishkan Ha'edos. So perhaps we might simply say this. A Mishkan, of course, is a home. So a home in general, as we all know, a home is a place, ultimately, not of function and performance, but a place of being. It's a place that nurtures the essential self. And this is about doing or achieving, which is everything you do when you step out of your home. You're engaged in some kind of pursuit, some kind of goal. You want to go somewhere, get something, achieve something, give something, receive something. But in your home, it's just about simply nurturing the essential being and so on. However, the home has different levels, like the Beis HaMikdash itself. Actually, 5 levels in the Beis HaMikdash, 5 levels of Kedusha. And the ultimate, as we all know, is the Kodesh HaKadoshim. And what's the Kodesh HaKadoshim? The Kodesh HaKadoshim is actually described in the Zohar and in the Pasuk as Hashem's bridal chamber. That is the place where Hashem and Yidden are one in the absolute sense. It's the bedroom, it's the divine bedroom of Hashem's encounter with every Yid, which happens, in terms of time on Yom Kippur, embodied by the Kohen Gadol, but it's every Yid. It's the Etzem HaNeshama, the 5th level, really, of the Beis HaMikdash. If you look at its various compartments, and that's the level of complete union. So what we're saying is this, that the first is the avodah of making the home, and you're sharing with your spouse. You're sharing. Home is about sharing each other with each other. So you're sharing on all kinds of levels. There's the living room, and there's of course the kitchen, etc. And these are intimate moments, no question. It's a home, it's a mishkan. You don't share this with anybody else, quite in the same way. But then there's the ultimate union. That's the mishkan ha'edos, and that is as it were, the bridal chamber, the gani, the gnuni, and that's empowered by Moshe Rabbeinu. This absolute oneness, as he explains in the Maimon at great length, where there's no differentiation, where 1 and 1 equals 1, where all neshamas are one with each other and one with Hashem. So that's empowered by Moshe Rabbeinu again, because his neshama is rooted in that essential level where there is virtually no distinction there is no distinction between neshamas and in their essential bond with Hashem himself. So that's l'chora, the difference between Mishkan and Mishkan ha'edos. The home in general, or the most intimate and absolute oneness, the Eidos. In fact, we might even add that what was in the Kodesh HaKadoshim was the Aron, and the Aron is called the Aron HaEidos, the Luchos HaEidos, the Luchos in which were engraved the letters of Hashem, not without separation, as we learned in the previous Maimon. That was where in Kodesh HaKadoshim. So that is the second level, the Mishkan HaEidos. So let's finish the Maimon, the last paragraph, Ois Hey, and then a brief overview, and then the story. Ois Hey. Okay, just and welcome, Robert. The joys, I ask you to put on mute, so that be on mute.
Oh.
There's a mute button at the left of your screen, apparently.
Okay, I don't know what I am.
All right, just be very silent. Okay. V'zeh gam kein. So now, concluding, he's going to answer another question. He say the last ice of the Maimer. Mashakos of Lachari, so the very pasuk goes on to say, how does the pasuk begin? It's all the first pasuk of the second parsha. Eileh Pikudei Mishkan Eidus Asher Pakad al Pi Moishe, and then it goes on to say Biyad Avodas Halavim, all related to the service of the Leviim, entrusted to Biyad Yisomar, the son of Elazar, the son of Aaron. So the question is, it's not understood. What's the subject matter here? The Torah is describing how the Mishkan was put up and its various components and parts. Like how did the Levim come into the picture? We don't need them now. That's down the road. By Mishkan Atzma, it's not in the putting up of the Mishkan, which is the subject here, but it's only later they served in the Mishkan itself, and even that, it wasn't the primary avodah. It's only that their job was to carry the various parts of the Mishkan when they journeyed from one destination, one journey to the other. But actually erecting the Mishkan wasn't done by the Levim. So why is the pasuk now, when it's saying, and these are the accounts of the Mishkan, and what was all the tallies and how it was built and what was built, why does the Mishkan say that this is the avodah of the Levim? They come into the picture later, and even a secondary avodah. And it's strange that they should be invoked at the very, summation of the whole avodah, right after mentioning Mishkan Eidus. Question's clear. Yeah. Nod of the head. Yeah. But the matter is, if you should tach this in your Mishkan, because the whole point of the Mishkan is Amshachas Achtos, to draw down the oneness of Hashem and the oneness of Eden, all one thing. The shift, the Shvatim, Gam b'mokim ha'pirut kanal, even in the place of separation. That was the whole dream of Yosef, that the other tribes had to be subordinate to and had to receive and connect to, and that is in the field, in the separate sheaves, to gather all the sheaves and the sparks in oneness. Again, so put your mute on if you can, because every sound you're making is amplified. Even in the lowest worlds, in our world, the world of separation, should be, it's not enough, the first bitter, which was set in motion and effected by Shlomo HaMelech, which is to draw down into the world a level of Atzilus. And another way of describing that would be a beautiful, harmonious world where everybody gets along, which is wonderful. That's Atzilus. There's certainly no machlekes in Atzilus. It's beautiful. It's a rarefied world. It's not enough to get along. The tachlis hakavon is to be one. But to draw down the level of Akudim, which he explained earlier, is the level where all of the Eiris are in one keli. It means to say that all the neshamas, everyone retains their identity, but they're in one keli. Not just harmonious, but one. Well, the Eileh Yosin, even higher than Akudim, as he said earlier, Atzma Sein Sof. And what affects this? What affects this incredible unity in this world? That's by, as explained earlier, engaging the world, food and drink and all other physical pursuits, not for the physicality per se, but for the divine spark that's within it. And we do that by engaging it in a godly way. And this is Dafka the Leviim. So first of all, because the Leviim were the ones that brought the Mishkan from place to place. They carried it, they brought the Mishkan to the world, engaging the world with it. So that's number one. But it's also, he says, conveyed in the very word Leviim. The word Levi conveys their Avodah. Shehu Meloshan, this is also associated with the word, other places, Chassidus it means to join and to attach, because that's the original meaning of the name. Leah called him Levi, because she said, now my husband will attach himself to me, having born to him a third son. But also, Shemiloshan Leviyosin. Leviyosin is the Leviathan, the great fish that Hashem created at the outset of creation, that will be part of our repast when Mashiach comes. So the pasuk says as follows. It's a pasuk in Tilim, which we say, Leviyosan ze yotzarta, this Leviathan you have formed, you the Eibishter, lesachik boy, with which you take sport with or play with, which is an expression of delight and tainuk. Now, what does this mean? So Hashem is delighting in the Leviathan, which is the Levi, which is our avodah to engage the world, to bring the Mishkan in our personal journey in life into every corner of the world, the desert. The Rebbe elaborates. So here we're talking about Hashem. L'sachik also means mirth, laughter. It implies all of these things. So the question is, the Mishachara Beis HaMikdash, our sages tell us that once the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, it's forbidden that a person should fill his mouth with mirth, with joy and laughter. That, by the way, we say in the Shir HaMalis and Tilim, only in the future our mouth will be filled of laughter. But here's the big chidush. That's mitzvah, the teva of things. The teva of things, the nature of things is that after the Churban Beis HaMikdash, there's nothing to smile and laugh about till Mashiach comes. But of course, the avodah is to achieve that dafke in Zman HaGolus, in exile, and that brings about the redemption. However, but through the avodah of the Leviim, again, he's invoking the word Levi, which means to join. So the avodah of Leviim is to connect, connect what? The created separate being, separate entity, which is our world in its own perception, and connect it into the true nothingness meaning beyond any limitation that we can experience or even appreciate. In other words, to the pure godliness, that is the avodah of the Leviim. So that's the Leviathan, the Leviyosan, which you created, with which you take delight, which you laugh, as it were. Hashem laughs and smiles and delights, and therefore so do we. So we cause about the laughter and the delight within Hashem Himself in the deepest way. And that affects us, that our mouths too will be full of joy and laughter, even now in Golus. Fully realize the Mashiach comes, but the Avodah begins even now. I'm just going to add, this was one of the criticisms of the Hasidic movement. One of the long list of tinus and complaints was that it was a departure, and it was and a violation of tradition of Jewish law. Many things, going to the mikveh, hundreds of things. Not hundreds, but many. But one of them was this, the joy that Chassidus introduced song and dance and so on. And there was an outrage. What do you mean song and dance? When Mashiach will come, then we will sing and dance. Then our mouths are full of joy. Any songs that existed in those days were more like dirges. You won't find a happy dance kind of song older than 300 years. They don't exist. There weren't any. There wasn't much to sing about. But along came Chassidus and said, yes, that's true. But now we begin the last Avodah. And a foretaste of Mashiach's coming, so now already, then our mouth is filled with joy, now knowing and appreciating that this is the Avodah we're achieving. That Avodah begins even now. There's a foretaste of that even now at the end of Golus. So now the time is appropriate. And that's all connected to the revelation of Chassidus and so on. Let's conclude the paragraph, the Maimer. This is the whole Avodah of the Mishkan. She'olav ne'amar about which the pasuk says, that the Mishkan is something that each one of us has to make within our own hearts, in our own homes, and in our own environment. Through the avodah of each one of us creating the Mishkan and the Mikdash. Which, as we explained, is created through gathering the sparks and elevating the sparks engaged that are present in the physical world which we engage in. And it's done on the two stages of Bidur Rishon and Bidur Sheni. The first elevation and the second elevation. The first elevation, as we explained, is the first Mishkan. The second one, the ultimate intent, is the Mishkan or Eidos. So this causes that Hashem will dwell amongst us in each and every one of you. Hashem reveals His delight in us, His essential wonders with us, which is now, actually it's ever present, but it's beginning to be revealed now, and the revelation in the future. Fully revealed when Mashiach will come. All right. So now an overview, just a brief overview of the Maimer. Yeah, we're good.
Can I just ask a question? Mishkan Eidos, this means like a home of witness? Like that would be its like literal translation?
The literal translation would be the Mishkan of testimony. It bears witness, simple meaning, it bears witness to Hashem's revelation on earth. It's a simple meaning. We're explaining the deeper meaning of Eidos, right? As we explained earlier. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just adding a point here that the mind is speaking about what? About the separate sparks being embedded in creation, in a world of division and multiplicity and plurality. That's what creation is, before we engage it and elevate it and unite it and make it all one. And that's exactly what is happening now in this very, very unprecedented, extraordinary time, friends. We are, on the one hand, separate and divided in a way we never have been before. This in the history of humanity, people have not been compelled to be isolated. And yet, as we are doing right now, learning together, this is an extraordinary opportunity, and it's through technology, notwithstanding our physical separation, to be united in the most meaningful and beautiful ways, learning together, davening together, etc., also unprecedented. Because through technology, so many can come together in an instant, and we're all sharing the same virtual room together. So it's in the separation. Because of the separation, we have the opportunity to bring about the greatest union, the greatest unity. And that's why technology is here. It's all by divine providence, and it's prophesied, in fact, in the Torah, in the Zohar, that before Mashiach comes, there'll be great explosions of knowledge in the world, both mystical, that's the Kabbalah and Chassidus, and earthy and physical, that's technology, and they will work together in harmony, be used in harmony to prepare the world for the era when the whole world is united and in one pursuit, the knowledge or the intimacy with Hashem. And friends, that's what's happening right now. And we need to spread this even further. We have to think about this, how, and do so. And we are working on it via the internet, Chabad.org, and all the other major, whatever they're called, web machines, I don't know what you call them, that are putting, what? Outlets,
Platforms.
Yeah? Huh? Platforms by which millions of Yidden can be connected in a very deep and wonderful and personal way. Okay, let's review the Maimer. And we basically, spoke about it, but we'll just get the flow of it. Really, again, this is an interesting Maimer where it's not, a whole lot of ideas, and then you got to work together to connect it. He's developing one concept throughout. So, the Maimer begins with the opening words of the second parsha. This week is two parshas. And again, I'm going to point out, it's the same Nekuda. The two parshas are Vayakel and Pikudei. I'll talk about this more maybe on a podcast or something. But Vayakel means to gather together, one, and Pikudei means to make an accounting, a reckoning, which is the opposite, where every single item is itemized independently and separately. In the simple translations, they're opposite. Yakel, kohol means one group, a kohol, which has its own identity, it's a general, community, and Pikudei means individual. And yet they come together this year. Vayakel, Pikudei is one seamless parsha. Well, it seems like what's going on this week? Is a community or is it individual? And it's one Torah reading. In fact, when we read the Torah, we don't finish Vayakel on Shabbos and then start Pikudei. Our sages ordained that the fourth Aliyah it links the two. It's one long parsha. Vayakel, Pikudei, how can the parsha, one long parsha, have two opposite names, which means two opposite themes? The answer is it's one thing. Because the true Vayakel, the true unity is when Pikudei, when all the individuals, on the one hand being individuals and respecting that their space and place, and they come together in oneness, that creates the ultimate Vayakel. That's the ultimate community. Or to put this in other words, when an individual sees himself not just on his own, but part of Klal Yisrael, the people of Israel, then his individuality shines and is really expressed in the most powerful way, immeasurably greater than if he's simply on his own. His Pikudei, his individual count, his individual value really is revealed and contributed when he's dedicated and committed to the whole, to the Vayakel. The Vayakel brings out the true Pikudei. All right, so...
And that's the point of the shir in public.
And that's what we're saying. That's what the shir is. That here we are, in our little rooms and homes, Pikudei, but coming together as Vayakel is really bringing out each one's individual best. The individual best, you're shining and really contributing when you devote yourself to the collective good of our people, the collective identity of our people and of the world at large. And that's what's happening right now. We have to spread this further and further. It's got to become contagious, that nobody wants to be left out. I want to be part of Klal Yisrael. I want my life to be dedicated to making this whole world a Mishkan, and not just a Mishkan, but a Mishkan Ha'edus. By connecting to the very essence of Hashem, as explained to the performance of Torah mitzvahs and elevating all of those sparks and so on. Okay, so a broad brush strokes overview of the Maimer, and that is, so the second parsha begins with it. These are the Pekudei, these are the enumeration, the reckoning of the Mishkan, and it's described as the Mishkan, then Mishkan Ha'edus, the Mishkan of testimony. The question is why the double expression, which was counted by Moishe. So he explains that this is the summation of the building of the tally and the building of the Mishkan that all began with the gathering of the Jews at the outset. So all this to say that there's two kinds of gathering or empowerment that result in two levels of Mishkan. And we also find the same two-tier level when it comes to the Jewish people at large, which are called Shvatim, the tribes. We are all descendants of the tribes. So the pasuk says, David HaMelech is speaking about the future time when Yidden will go up to the Beis HaMikdash, which Shlomo Melech will build. And he says, that, and he talks in past tense, but it's actually a prophecy, that then the Shvatim will go up, the tribes, and then he says, he repeats the word tribes again, Shifteka Eidos LeYisrael. This is a pasuk, friends, you can look it up. Tehillim chapter 1, 22, verse 4. So here too, the Shvatim are described with first Shvatim and then Eidos LeYisrael, the testimony unto the Jewish people. Because this is a reference to the two levels of Mishkan and the two levels of achievement affected by the Shvatim, by the tribes. As he goes on to explain, what does the word Shevet mean? So he gave two answers. Shevet means a shooting star. That's one meaning. And Shevet also means a branch of a tree. Now, both convey something extending from something else. The star moving from its original place and a branch extending from the tree. So what does this mean spiritually? Who is the tree and who is extending? So we are the extensions, and the tree, the roots, are our forefathers. Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and our matriarchs. Now their neshamas, their souls, were neshamas of Atzilus, this lofty world. But we have descended where? Into the world of Biyah. Our souls have descended and live in the plane of multiplicity, of division, down here in this world. The forefathers, even though they walked planet Earth, but they still were in the embodiment of this higher spiritual plane of Atzilus. Not so us. So the whole Avodah is, as I mentioned before, that Yosef made his brothers bow down to him. They resisted. Why did they resist? Because Yosef is saying our job is to be out there in the field, and in the field to gather the sheaves, to gather the sparks, which refers to the sparks of godliness embedded in nature, and unite it all. And they had to bow down to Yosef because that's the whole Avodah. Not to be the branch, it means to extend away from the source, like the shooting star, to come down as it comes down into this world and there to effect, as he said, the end of the mind, the ultimate unity. So that's the end result. So the end result is the two levels of Mishkan, as we said before. It's all empowered by the two gatherings. The gathering of Shlomo Melech, which is the first birur, the first elevation, which brings about the creation of the world, or making the world into Mishkan. But then there's the avodah of Moshe Rabbeinu. That he explained that Moshe Rabbeinu was neshama. Comes in the first, just to repeat the first Shemitah. Very briefly, the world exists for 7,000 years. However, the 6,000 includes Yemais and Mashiach, and in the 7,000th year, our sages say, is even beyond even the prophets. The great eternal Shabbos beyond even the prophetic description. So the Torah hints, Bereshis, by starting the letter Beis, that this is only a second stage. There's a level of creation before, and there's a whole Shemitah, a whole 7,000 period before. And that, in fact, is this higher spiritual state, totally beyond creation. And Moshe Rabbeinu's neshama is rooted there. In the words of the Maimah, Akudim, higher than the Kudim and Brudim, as explained earlier. You can listen to the details of that in the previous classes posted on our YouTube channel. So there I go into detail there. So Moshe Rabbeinu, because this is what it means, because his neshama, his soul, in his soul is expressed the raw, not the raw, but the essential source of all neshamas, of all souls, and the deepest source of all souls is that they are one with Hashem Chilek Lekam Imal Mamesh. In his, he lived that. Shlomo Melech and other great leaders, when by divine design, did not express the very essential depth of the neshama, very high levels, the level of Mishkan, the level of Atzilus, and even higher than Atzilus, but the level of Akudim, the essential, inseparable, non-differentiable, if it's such a word, non-differentiation, a level of the neshama where all neshamas again are one with each other, one with God. That's embodied in Moshe Rabbeinu's neshama. And likewise in the Nasi, is Pashtusa Moshe b'chol dora v'dora, in every generation. So he empowers, therefore, the ultimate stage, which is where the world becomes the Mishkan Ha'edos, where the essence of Hashem is revealed, wherein all Jews are not living not simply harmonious as you live in a house and you sit together at the kitchen table and everybody's behaving, which is a big achievement. A harmonious household is no small achievement, but the ultimate achievement is the oneness embodied by the house itself, by the founders of the house, the mother and father of the home. Their oneness is the ultimate achievement, and that's the Mishkan Ha'edos, and that is embodied by Moshe Rabbeinu, because his neshama is transparently that level of absolute oneness. So, again, that's the summary of all we're talking about, and that's the whole Avodah, and has to translate in the Levium. The Pasuk connects it, as we just learned, to the Levium. The Levium, what are they doing in the picture here when it comes to building the Mishkan? They only come later. They serve secondary, auxiliary role to the Kohanim. It's the Kohanim that do the main Avodah. Moreover, the Avodah is really carrying the Mishkan. They're just bringing it. They're the what are they? In business, you got to ship goods. What is it? You've got to. They're the carriers. They're the transport. They're the transport. So they get connected right away. The one who's the transport, the truckers. So they are the ones that are mentioned right away by Mishkan Ha'edos. They come much later. The answer is the transport. The answer, we've got to take this message and live this way in every journey in life, in every place that we are, in the field, in the desert, and there reveal the Mishkan Ha'edos, making the whole world the absolute home for Hashem, the Kodesh HaKadoshim. And that's also connected. We just learned to repeat again that the Leviim, that word Levi, which means to connect, also is associated with the Leviathan. Now the Leviathan, by the way, is called Levi because it lives in the ocean and it lives inseparably from its source of life. The source of life, which is the water and the fish, are inseparable. Unlike creatures on terra firma, we walk around with a sense of independence from our source of life. The truth is, you need oxygen, you need food all the time, food from time to time, oxygen constantly, but you don't see it. You don't see our dependence. But if you look at creatures of the sea, not lost on the viewer, is that they're inseparable from the force of life. So that they're joined, Leviathan, Levi, they're attached to the source of life. So the Pasuk says that in this oneness, where a Jew, Levi, every one of us, is connected to the source of life, and we reveal that, that's Hashem's pleasure and delight. So Oz Yimali Schayk that then the joy, the simcha, and that's the Eibishter created the Leviathan, the Leviathan, Lasachik boy, in which he has delight and pleasure. All to say that the avodah of the Levi, the one who transports all of us on this journey in life, who bring the Mishkan Ha'edos to the world, this causes the greatest delight to Hashem, and this should invoke within us too a great simcha and joy and pleasure, until the whole world is filled with this simchas olam al rosham, as brought elsewhere in Chassidus, and the whole world becomes the Mishkan Ha'edos. All right.